DuckTalks is part of Res TV's network of podcasts. Check out res.tv for other great podcasts.
Uncle Donald!
Careful! This was expensive.
A prescription hammock for molting relating to stress.
Doctor's orders.
That's ridiculous. You're not molting. Look at that luscious head full of...
Ooh, that's a lot of feathers.
Anyway, we need to borrow your old VCR so we can watch this copy of the Necronomicon set, the VHS that raises the dead, the most horrifying...
The horror movie from the 90s. We'll take care of it. No need to worry. Read your book. Relax. Everything's fine.
If we don't become zombies...
From too much time in front of the old boob tube. Okay, bye.
Everything's fine.
It's the week of Friday, May the 10th, and you're listening to episode 68 of DuckTalks. Hey there, and welcome to another episode of DuckTalks. Thanks for joining us. My name's Mitch. I'm one of your hosts.
Is Steve here?
Oh, yeah. Hey, ahoy there.
Okay.
All right, Steven. Yeah, I'm here too.
It's been one of those weeks trying to keep up with the show. You all heard another voice.
CC Runner 524 with Josh. I'm here too.
4 brand new episodes of DuckTales. Man, that's been a blast.
It's like a marathon this week.
It's like every time I start to allow it to sink in just how good the last episode was, there's another episode.
It just kept getting better. It's like, not that the first one was not good, but like it was like good, and then it just kept getting better. Like every episode this week, I felt like.
Yeah, 2 weeks from now, we're going to miss it when there's not a new episode every day.
Yeah, there's rumors that we'll go through June without an episode.
Ooh.
Hey, we'll be back on hiatus. Yeah, there's a lot of ups and downs with this fandom.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it this week. I like that a new episode every day, and Disney Now has been so good to us with pretty much getting to watch the episode whenever we want, even though it really airs in the afternoon. It's been fun. It's been so easy to get the kids up for school because all I have to do is knock on their door and say, new DuckTales, and they run downstairs. So I'm going to miss that when that's not there, but it's been great.
I've had the exact same experience. I've gone in, and Paisley's extremely hard to get up in the mornings, but I've been able to go in and tell them that there's DuckTales. It is on, because I've been, every night I've been like, now we don't know that it'll be there, but if it is, you can watch it. But they've gotten up, watched it, and of course I've had to do things in the morning, so I've not got to stop, but it's in the background, so I'm getting bits and pieces of it, so I've been really excited all day long. And then, of course, it prepared me for Duck Twitter, because Duck Twitter is just a minefield of spoilers right now.
Yeah, because I think it launches officially around 3 or 4 a.m. on Disney Now. So, and I know people that are waiting for it at that time, no matter what time zone they're in. And they're catching it first, and they're exploding with like Webby whenever they get new information. And they go to the Duck Twitter and blurt it out. So yeah, you gotta watch it early.
I don't know is there like an amount of time we should wait for spoilers? I know I see a ton of spoilers as well. I don't know if we should start the hashtag Glomgold demands his silence. I don't know.
Oh, we missed out on that. You're going to have to make that and get that out before.
Good ideas.
Yeah, later. It's like the end of the week.
Steve, you're the one who comes up with the ideas. I'm the one who likes. I don't know. Just came out.
Hey, Josh, I've got a great idea. You should do an image that says Glomgold deserves. What is it? Glomgold insist on your silence.
Glomgold demands your silence. I mean, that sounds like a shirt idea.
It does sound like a shirt idea.
Get Glomgolden. Josh, how's it gone for you? I know you've not watched them like first thing because Steven and I have been talking and you've been like, I've not seen it yet. And so we've moved over into our other chat that doesn't include you.
A Well, it's good to know there's a chat that doesn't include me.
Well, you're 3 hours earlier than us. We try to wait. Sending you those texts in the morning.
Yeah. Well, I actually I see them on the Disney Now app, and I would kind of wait till later in the day when I have more time. And I've been watching them with my newborn, and she's been loving the new episodes. She doesn't know what's going on, but she just wants to sit there and just like stare at the screen.
Yeah, I saw those pictures on Twitter. That's cool.
Yeah, so I'm excited that she just likes to sit there and watch them with me. So that's kind of the big thing.
Guys, we've got 4 episodes to talk about, and we are notoriously bad about going on and on and on. So we probably ought to go ahead and get into talking about these, doing our 30-second reviews, and just kind of breaking them down, talking about what we enjoyed. We're just going to do that this episode. We're not going to bother with merchandise news. I don't know of anything incredibly pressing. Pirate usually jumps in and lets me know when I'm wrong on that. Good. And and no breaking news other than there is a clip out there. We've put it on the website. We've marked it as a spoiler. If you've not watched today's episode, Friday's episode, the name of it was The Golden Spear. So if you've not seen The Golden Spear yet, don't watch the clip that's out there from IGN. And that's it for the news. We'll jump into this episode. Hold on, I'm getting a message on Skype. That's funny. Hey, I'm going to bring someone over. We'll probably cut this out. Hold on one second. I got Nicole messaging us.
Hello, you guys. I'm so excited.
What's up, Nicole?
Not too much, you guys. How's it going? Happy Friday. Or as we say, Friday. In my house.
It has been a Friday with 4 episodes of DuckTales.
It's been a great DuckTales week, that's for sure.
Yeah. So you were messaging me saying you were very excited about the episodes and just wanted to chat. We are podcasting. That's what I messaged you. You want to come on the podcast?
Yeah, that'd be great.
We do a 30-second review. What do you think about doing that?
Okay.
Or a recap. It's not a review.
I think I can do it.
Well,
I just think Mitch doesn't want to do the recap himself, so he's making you do it.
Well, I realized I didn't have the randomizer up, so I thought it would be convenient. I mean, she's excited. The first episode was on Tuesday, and that was Treasure of the Found Lamp. Which was a great episode. You think you could do that one?
I think I can.
All right.
I'll give it a shot here. You got a timer up? We need one of that. We need like the speedrunner splits timers that you get for the newfangled, streamer channels, right?
I've got a timer up. I will hit start as soon as you start speaking.
Okay. I'm ready. Here we go. So DuckTales Treasure of the Found Lamp, I think, is the spiritual successor to the original episode from the old DuckTales series, Treasure of the Lost Lamp, but the story is completely different. So our heroes begin with a meeting of the warrior, Mr. Jin, the owner of the original lamp. At least it was in his family. The boys, however, Louie, sold the lamp to a garage sale, but didn't tell Jin because he'll be really upset. So instead, we're going to send Webby and Scrooge and Jin onto an adventure titled Webby's Legendary Quest, which I think would be a great episode. Next, they see an ugly eyeball dude, Celine, a creepy, horrible Gladstone. Or actually, Gladstone's okay, but the eyeball dude's kind of weird, and so is Doofus. Scrooge, dressed as a Minotaur, fondly Ma Beagle. Scrooge does some trash swimming. They find a lamp on top of a tilty tall pile and the treasure of the lost lamp, just like that. And then the lamp is returned to Jin, but not until we know that it is kind of worthless, but not to him, as it's an old family heirloom and his birthday gift. The end.
All right.
Not quite 30 seconds, but I feel like I just rewatched it. That was awesome.
Yeah, I feel like we should. I should nominate her to.
It was about a minute, but
nominate her to do all the recaps.
Right? We'll just have you call in from now on. So you enjoyed this. You pointed out the fact that it, kind of a play on the movie, and I thought that was awesome. I was really excited, like you said, that they didn't just rehash the movie. They did something totally different.
Mm-hmm. To me, this was the original DuckTales video game and then the DuckTales 2 video game. It started with sort of a throwback to the movie, and they did kind of we went on this big adventure, but all I got was this lamp, and it's totally worthless. There isn't a genie or anything inside it.
I know that lamp is here somewhere. I found it years back, shoved in among the treasure of Koli Baba.
Perhaps if you had told literally anyone about it instead of locking it away.
There's nothing to tell. It's a cheap bauble, not worth all the hard adventure it took to get it. Big waste of time. Why would I tell anyone about that?
Found it!
And then the next thing you know, we're on a great new adventure, and I personally think we could do an entire episode where Webby basically writes an adventure, and that's the whole episode. I think that would be a great premise if they could pull that off in their fabulous DuckTales ways, And then I liked how the episode continued along the two diverging quests, and you had a lot of guest stars. It was cool to see Celine again. It was horrible to see Doofus again.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Continues. Yeah.
That was Pirate's first comment that on Tuesday morning.
Doofus on roller skates.
Yeah, I don't know if I needed that.
Yep. I think I'm still traumatized from the original Doofus episode, like in an entertained, traumatized way, but still.
And that Sticky Nickels joke just killed me.
The Sticky Nickels.
That was so gross.
It was nasty. As soon as they brought that out, though, you knew, right? And then the roller skating, like, what was that even?
Sam actually commented on that on Twitter and said that wasn't in the script or anything. That was kind of her brainchild, and she took it in. She didn't even get it approved on boards. She took it in for her presentation and was like, I kind of did something I didn't ask if I could do, and we can remove it if you don't like it. But they loved it, and I'm glad they kept it because it's creepy. It's
creepy, and it's perfect, and it set the whole mood of what is he going to do next? Nah!
You never know.
It was awesome. And I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm just cringing head to toe. Every single moment he just gets close to one of the boys, I'm like, no, save them.
and then you kind of, when Gladstone, which came up before Doofus, but Doofus is just the biggest impression that's left is Sticky Nickels. Ugh. But Gladstone, you cheer when you see Gladstone in. He keeps getting these little cameos.
He does. I loved particularly the, hey, boys, and all the little nicknames he had for them. And then finally he's all, how would you like a handful of diamonds that I got from this big bag of ice? Like, what? The most random thing, but it fits so nicely in with the story.
And Louis says, we don't have time for that, as he takes a handful and stuffs them in the hoodie.
Stuffs them in his pocket.
I loved it, and I love the redesign of formerly known as Dijon and now known as Jen.
Yes.
Yeah, they made him really cool. Like, he was doing all these, like, acrobatic moves, getting on that ship at the very beginning, and he had this, like, quest, and, like, he was, like, notating every single thing he was doing throughout the episode as part of his quest. I don't know. I thought they did a really good job at updating him and make him just, like, a really cool, like, I don't know. We could call it a adventurer. Is that what the word he is?
I am in no mood for pep. I seek only the lamp of the first genie, a sacred relic of untold value that the last of my line has sworn to protect for all time. Today, on the eve of the Ifrit's dawn, my quest must come to a triumphant conclusion, or the consequences may be dire.
He was the great legendary warrior. At least that's what I thought they were going for. And I thought he had great artistic style, sort of the more sleek character design, so he could do all those acrobatic tricks. And then I like how he just basically talks with his sword. It's part of his conversation. So when he whips out the sword and uses it for some random display, right?
And then the twist was purely DuckTales. Characteristic of DuckTales in that there's no genie. There's no, this quest is all about his birthday and him having this heirloom from his family. And I loved the twist. And we had Beagle Boys. That was pretty great, too. I especially thought it was fun to see Ma Beagle watching her soapies in the background.
Yeah, I like how at the end, after he whoops all of the Beagle Boys, one of them says, "Happy birthday, dude."
Yeah, that was great, too. Did anybody notice the birthday candle and the cake at the end of the episode? I wondered if that was, you remember from the first season, the DuckTales little short, clips they had, and one of them was where they were singing to Donald. I wondered if it was the same candle.
Oh, I did not notice that. I'll have to go back and look at that.
Yeah, then it was cool at the end how Scrooge took all the stuff from his garage and put it into the museum, because that's definitely something they go a lot to in the comics, where that's how they would start an intro for one of the Don Rosa stories with one of the artifacts and stuff. So I thought that's cool, and that's something they can go back to in future episodes.
And there's some like little cameo things in there too in that scene, right? Of some of the artifacts that they have in the museum.
Yeah, the candy striped egg might come up in a future story. That was in the Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck in chapter 11. It came up, so that's something that they can bring up, because they had he had to give that to one of the an island to ward off a zombie that was after Scrooge. So that'd be another cool story they can bring back from the comics.
Yeah, and that kind of I kind of thought that was where the zombies were going to come in. Which did come in later at some point in the future. But we'll get to them later. But it wasn't connected. It kind of threw me off. I was messaging Pirate and Josh, and I was like, hey, do you think this could be connected? I was going too deep. Great new character, great episode. Loved it as the return after the hiatus, because it did include so many characters from the show. And I know that's hard. I know that there's a lot of conversation online about inclusion of different, Donald and Scrooge and the boys and this, making sure everybody gets their time. And I feel like they try to do that on the show. There's just so many characters to cover. But this episode had a ton of them, and I thought that was great.
I also liked the balance they did, where they, and this is something I think DuckTales does really well, that even though they have a lot of main characters or characters that we are repeated and we see often, that they do a nice job featuring a small group of them without you wondering, hey, I wonder where everybody else is, because it seems to make sense, right? And I liked how in this episode, they were able to break it into two storylines and two groups to sort of welcome back more characters. Without that, it wouldn't have seemed so rich, I think, with all the different storylines. And I thought it was neat that it gave them the opportunity to bring Duckworth back again, to have his kind of silly moment where he's going on vacation and gets interrupted by the boys, and they're like, it's a Huey's fault. And they throw him totally under the bus. And then when he gets mad, he turns into the angry demon again and then back into himself. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, I like that they keep bringing back the demon look, because they could have totally just dropped that. But it's hilarious that it keeps coming back, because that means Duckworth is in the intro, because we get that scene with him that we had long before we even knew that he was that demon character. But I love that they keep bringing that back. I think this episode was a great episode. Josh said it earlier about how it just kept getting better. And I agree. It just kept, it keeps adding. But at the same time, I feel like this episode does stand alone.
Yeah, I would say I agree. It's nice to have a mixture in the show of episodes that are a series where they're giving you a little piece of a side storyline, how they originally did that in season 1, where we were trying to find out what happened to Della Duck. And now I like that they can do a mixture of, things that move the plot of the entire series forward, but also have standalone episodes, because that gives it a good balance. And plus, the young kids watching the shows, it's hard for them to keep track of all the little different side tracks, right? So this appeals then to all ages if you can do a blend.
It'd be really cool if people kids saw this episode and then they find out about the DuckTales movie and they want to go back and catch that because of this episode.
That's a great point. Where can people watch the DuckTales movie right now? Is it on Hulu or Amazon, things like that?
Yeah, I know it never got a Blu-ray release.
It's pretty cheap on DVD though.
Yeah, it's like $5 on DVD usually at most of the stores, but I'm hoping it comes to Disney Plus eventually.
I think it was part of the announcement of the initial rollout, wasn't it? With DuckTales 87, it was also going to include the movie.
Very good.
Yeah. It very well could be, and I think that's great. And I know in that DuckTales DVD set they released in January, it was part of that set. So,
oh, that's true.
Well, guys, this was a lot of fun, but it looks like I'm going to have to go. Thanks for having me on the podcast show. I had a lot of fun.
Well, good. Thanks for dropping in. It was a surprise. Before you go, though, Nicole, why don't you tell our listeners where they might find you? Now, we talk on Twitter all the time, and we know you from the Darkwing Duck community. We've been that Save Darkwing hashtag for a while, and you've been doing a lot of Twitch streaming here recently.
Yeah, so you guys can still all find me in my Darkwing shenanigans from time to time when there's new Darkwing information out there on Twitter at RedOxPDX. And I have recently, in the old days before I knew of the resurgence of this duck culture and Darkwing stuff, I was always a retro gamer and played a lot of video games with my kids. So we've now recently turned that into a Twitch channel. And you can find me there at RedOxPDX, just like you would on Twitter. We play classic retro games for Nintendo consoles, like original Nintendo and Super Nintendo. But then we also play a lot of modern stuff, too. And we've got a great community that we're starting out on. You can also find me over on Instagram, RedOxPDX Cosplay, for all of my Darkwing shenanigans running around the Pacific Northwest dressed as the terror that flaps in the night.
Sweet.
Yeah, you're always, whenever you go to a convention, you share the images with your Darkwing cosplay and others, but really love that and love that the presence that it makes to all the people who are there at the convention as they see the character, and it reminds them of a character that maybe they haven't thought of in a while. I always thought that was cool, especially with the whole retro gaming stuff, and Darkwing's got a pretty awesome NES game, even if I can't beat it still.
It's so funny now that I'll go to conventions and I'm not famous or anything, but I'll walk around as myself and I'll say hi to people and they'll go, and then I'll go, I'm Darkwing. And they're like, oh, what's up? Good to see you. And I never have more fun at a convention than when I'm Darkwing or my kids are Darkwing or Goslin or whoever with me. Because then we get to run around being little silly lunatics and, talking like Darkwing, and I'm taking, gas gun photos with people and just having a great time. So it's always a blast. I bring it out every season for fun, even if I'm working on some other project.
Well, it's awesome. And thank you again for joining us, for calling in.
Well, thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thanks. Have a good evening.
You too.
Well, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was enjoyable having Nicole on. We should have her on again. And I did love that episode. It was a great episode. Let's talk about the Outlaw Scrooge McDuck as we move through to the second episode of this week. And it was a great episode. Before we jump into it, we've got to do the 30-second recap. So, it's between the three of us. Let's pull up the old randomizer.
Can I choose 3?
Can you choose 3?
Or do you want me to choose another number?
Oh, you can choose 3. Pirate, what do you have?
2.
2. All right, so let me hit the randomizer just real quick as a recap, because I've forgotten. Pirate said 2 and Josh said 3. Is that correct?
Yep.
I don't think that was correct, because it's 1. Of course it's 1. It's always 1. All right, so I'm going to be honest. I haven't prepared for this. I should have, as soon as you guys said that I was going to have the number 1, because I always get it when I have the number 1. The randomizer hates me. I'm just buying time while I think this through. Okay, I guess I need a stopwatch up. And go. Louie's no longer motivated. Scrooge decides what he needs is a good talking to. You know what? Let's just tell him a story about his past. Awesome scene of Scrooge McDuck in the past as a prospector. He's in a town where he's the only one, but not for long, because Goldie shows up. She's also a prospector. There's also a relative of Gizmo Duck whose name was, it was awesome. It was Sheriff Marshal Deputy Cabrera. because his nickname was Deputy, and that's awesome. And I'm already out of time, but I've not even gotten into the story. They find a big nugget, but guess what? Rocker Duck takes the nugget. Now they need to heist. New, old, historic Gizmo Duck shows up because guess what? Plot twist. Gyro was there the whole time, but he's from the future. Back to the Future references take place, and they get the nugget, but it explodes, ends up going into the town. The town becomes wealthy. That's like over a minute. Nicole beat me. Great job, Nicole. But that's the episode.
That was like 6 minutes.
It was 1:10. Well, actually, 1:10 and 67 seconds. Or 67 milliseconds. Didn't even think that was possible. Is a millisecond 100? I guess it is. It's milli. Anyway, sidetrack, squirrel. This was one of my favorite episodes of the week, and I know as we go through the episodes, they get a lot more consequential and bigger. But I love Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck. We've talked about that on the podcast. I love the reference. That was there, and the look, and I love getting to learn more about younger Scrooge and what he went through. And I know there's people on Twitter and online are back and forth and all over the place on Scrooge's relationships, but I like this version of Goldie, so I liked having her in the episode.
Yeah, Prospector Scrooge is pretty cool. And, of course, the last Goldie episode was solid, and this is a great one as well. I can't wait to see her come back again, maybe in the present time, so that they can duel it out again, because I love that relationship. And Rocker Duck is awesome. I love the guy who did the voice for him.
Hey, you made it! Prospectors, meet John D. Rocker Duck, the new owner of Gumption.
Howdy, Pard! Always a pleasure meeting grubby, working-class heroes like yourselves. I'll burn those later. Sheriff, can you kindly remove these sourdoughs from my precious gold nugget?
And, he's extremely popular in the comics, so it's good to see him finally in a DuckTales episode. I'm sure he'll be back again.
Yeah, his voice actor was is John Hodgman, and he showed up, I don't know, last week. I think it was last week, talking about the premiere of the character and was all excited about it. And I thought that was very cool. He even knew about the popularity in overseas, and he seems to be invested in the character. So I would imagine he will be back. I agree with you there.
Yeah, and he owns it now because this is the first time that John Rocker Duck has had a voice.
What'd you guys think about the use of gyro? We knew, so kind of set the discussion. We knew previously from San Diego Comic-Con that in the images with Prospector Scrooge and Goldie, and the steampunk Gizmo Ducks, what everybody called it, it's what we called it. We knew there was also gyro, but he looked like present day gyro, but we didn't know why. What'd you guys think of that? Were you expecting the time travel?
Well, I was thinking more of this time travel was going to happen was like more than just gyro, not actually him just himself going back and then being in the story. I was thinking it was like going to be bringing Scrooge, Goldie, and then present day Gizmo Duck back there. But it was kind of a little bit of a twist that it was more of a story of what happened before, and then gyro pops in. I didn't like the use of some of the stuff that Gyro brought when he was using the time machine. He uses like a bathtub for his time machine, and that's actually the same type of time machine they used in the original DuckTales show, where they were going through time, and Gyro had made that device as well. So that's kind of a cool little callback to that time machine. And it was just kind of a cool little story where that he just kind of pops in and then does his thing and then disappears, and at the very end, Scrooge is like, "Oh, okay, now I understand. This is Gyro," and he just shows up right in the living room.
Yeah, classic DuckTales had that bathtub time machine that Gyro made, and also that helicopter time machine. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see if that helicopter time machine will make an appearance whenever the Bubba one comes along this season.
It's true.
Yeah, I'm very partial to the time tub, though. I loved seeing it in this episode, and I don't know if you guys caught it. I did not on my first, like, dozen viewings. I haven't watched it that many times, but however many times. I saw it online first, but there's an early scene in the past, and you can see Gyro in the background on a roof in the time tub. So, and he's, like, surprised. So it's when he first gets there.
I didn't realize. I didn't see that the first time.
Someone posted a screenshot, so it's pretty cool. I love that they include something like that in the background.
And how about the plot twist at the end? Well, it's not a plot twist. We could probably use that for anything, but Louis picks his mentor, and it's not Scrooge.
This means we're going to get more Goldie, hopefully, right?
Yeah, he decides he's going to be a little shifty.
Because he ends up calling Goldie and like asking for like to be mentored by her, right?
Yeah, and his response, because we don't hear her side of the conversation, but his response was, well, yeah, I think my uncle would be upset about it. And then he's like, great. So yeah, she'll do anything that will upset Scrooge. That's just part of their relationship.
It's kind of interesting with I know you kind of called it earlier, I don't know, did you say it was Steampunk?
Steampunk?
Gizmo Duck? Is that what you called them?
Yeah, that's what people have said, but that's typically, and we used it too because we weren't sure how it was going to be used, and we were referring to it, but that's typically like future that looks like the industrial age, but this was more Western Gizmo Duck.
And it wasn't even like, I mean, no, it was meant to look like Gizmo Duck, but it wasn't like made by Gyro or anything. It's kind of like he just put it together real quick. So it was kind of an interesting little twist to that. I was thinking maybe Gyro would have to like have made it. Then this was all when they announced it back at Comic-Con a long time ago. But I was thinking that Gyro would have making it for some reason. So for the current day Gizmo Duck, but it kind of played out a little bit differently than I expected.
Yeah, and I like how they did that because Gyro did create the technology because he built the horses, the floating motorized horses for them to catch up with the train. And then they blow it up. Sheriff, Marshal, Deputy Cabrera, love that, manages to blow it up and Gyro's knocked out. And then he somehow puts it together. Like, I don't exactly know how the gauntlet came to be because he was kind of shocked it was there. But then that gave him the idea to put the pieces together, and so it's really cool that Gizmo, Fenton's ancestor was able to build this, and it kind of mirrors how he worked with Gyro to build the present day one. So I like that. I thought it was cool, and it kind of adds to his backstory, or at least Gizmo Duck's backstory, because now Fenton's not the first Gizmo Duck. He's a legacy character.
Okay.
You're not going to believe this. I'm getting another message from someone. This is Eric. I'm going to bring Eric on. Hey Eric,
guys.
Are you there?
Yeah. How are you guys?
Hey man, what's up?
Not a whole lot. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. We're actually recording an episode of the podcast.
Oh, okay.
So what's up?
Not a whole lot. Just catching up from this week and 4 new episodes plus the repeat of the Della episode. So kind of still processing all that. Just seeing what you guys are up to.
Yeah, it's a lot. You said in your message you were wanting to talk about it. That's actually what we're doing. So if you don't mind, might include it in the podcast.
Oh, sure. Go ahead, man.
Hey, so let's do an introduction. So this is Eric. Eric, you want to tell everyone kind of, who you are, how we know you? We know you from Twitter. We know you from YouTube.
Were you going to try and pronounce my last name, or are you just going to skip over that?
No, I was totally going to skip out of that. That's not a blooper from a previous episode.
That's totally fine.
I've never heard it. See, that's the thing about having internet friends.
I don't think any of you have. Okay, so my last name's Rovtar.
I got it right, just so you know.
T-A-R. Everyone likes to pronounce it Rovtar, but yeah, it's a long O. It's Slovenian. There's your history lesson for that. Yeah, so like you said, Mitch, I'm on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all that kind of stuff. Grew up in the 80s and 90s with Disney Afternoon. So really enjoying the new DuckTales series. So try and catch it whenever it's on. So glad the episodes are back. Do a lot of Disney content. So yeah, that was my upbringing. That's kind of where I've landed in my mid-30s now, which is scary to say.
Whenever you think about it, the best thing to do is just not stop and think about it. Just keep going.
Yeah, I have a birthday coming soon, so that's pending. Yeah.
Well, it was, I can't remember. It was pretty early on to us doing DuckTalks that you first messaged us or were involved in one of the conversations, and we all started chatting, and we talk to you every day now.
Seems like it. Yeah, I was thinking about that recently. I'm like, I don't remember when I found you guys or how I found you guys. I remember watching the new show, and then all of a sudden, like, I found you guys on Twitter for something. Yeah, and then started listening to podcasts when you guys were doing it live on Discord. Joined in when I could there a little bit, and then yeah, try and catch you guys on my commute to and from work each week. So you guys are like the perfect length of time for me to get from my job to home. So that's always great.
You've got a long commute like I do.
Well, I put you on 1.5 or 2, depending on how long the episode is, to be fair. But
you know what? I've never listened to myself on 1.5. I'm going to have to do that now.
You guys don't sound that bad. So like, there's other things I can't do that for, but like audiobooks and podcasts, I always speed it up.
It's the Southern draw.
Well, yeah.
Well, you know what? We just got done talking about the Outlaw Scrooge McDuck. We're kind of going through them one at a time.
Okay.
And of course we've talked about the lamp, Treasure of the Found Lamp, which we all loved. Anything about those two you'd like to add?
No, I really liked, I didn't love them as much as I wanted to. I thought they were great episodes, but I was really, it wasn't until like the last 2 this week that I thought were really, really good and really hooked me more than the first 2. But yeah, they were still good. It was nice to see them retool Found Lamp from Lost Lamp and change some stuff up.
Well, we were about to start doing the 87-cent solution, and funny story, Nicole messaged us while we were recording earlier, and we brought her on. So now you're the second person on. We actually talked her into doing our 30-second recap for that episode. What do you think about doing the recap for the next episode, which is the 87-cent solution?
I can try. I'm not good at being short-winded, but I'll do my best.
That's okay. I did one today, and I was over a minute, so you're going to be fine.
Okay.
All right. Okay. You just let me know when you're ready, and I'll hit the timer.
Can I just do like bullet point like things?
Cool? Absolutely.
I don't know what the rules are. Okay.
There are no rules.
Okay. Oh, I can do it.
The goal is 30 seconds. That's the only rule.
All right. So just start whenever?
Yep.
Okay. Here we go. Lots of callbacks to DuckTales 87. I think like you got the time teaser, and you had definitely a gold fever from the original pilot, so that was really awesome. Fast forward through some things where Scrooge gets sick with gold fever. Scrooge dies. Glomgold wins. There's DJ Khaled in there, and then Donald cries. I think that's where the episode ends. But no, wait. No. Glomgold doesn't win. Scrooge isn't actually dead. Scrooge is playing Glomgold, who used the time teaser to steal the 87 cents from Scrooge and make him go crazy. And now Scrooge is still the richest duck in the world, and Glomgold looks like a fraud.
Oh, so that was perfect except the pause. The 33 seconds.
I didn't. Well, I was going to end it. I ended it with Donald cries, and specifically to see what you guys would say. And then I wasn't, and I just continued because I don't do all silence.
Well, it was great. The pause was necessary, so we'll give you the 3 seconds.
Okay.
So you did it.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you. I also talk fast, so it helps.
It was great having another Glomgold episode.
Yes, I thought of Pirate the entire time because
it was so golden. You know what? The first like half of this episode, I was like, "What the heck is going on? This is what is going on here?" And then when we found out the twist that Glomgold was behind the whole thing, and he just coming out dancing during the intro to the funeral, it was just so. It was probably one of my biggest laughs of the season from DuckTales season 2.
And they stay there, and they stay there, and they stay there. I win!
I'm so very sorry. I'm so...
Olsen, help me up onto his casket so I can dance on it!
We'll be taking our seats.
Oh, fine, I'll sit down so you can mourn. The second richest duck in the world, and I beat him fair and square!
Yeah, they had me going all the way up until Scrooge died off screen. Like, the entire time, like, when Huey lost the Woodchuck guidebook, I was like, okay, that's an odd, like, note to throw in an episode, but okay, it's believable. And then, yeah, they had me going almost the entire time. And then that twist was really great. I like the Beakley thing at the end when, like, they reveal that there's a whole plot and they planned all this, but Donald's not in on it, hence why he cries. So he's mad, and Beakley's like, you could have just told me, and I would have dealt with all this, as she, like, saves the day in, like, 2 seconds.
You get the feel that Beakley could handle anything that they deal with, and that's why she's not there.
Yeah, I like that. It's the same way I feel like Mrs. Beakley was in the 87 show. Just, I mean, obviously it's a different take on her, but, like, I still feel like Mrs. Beakley in the old episode, even though she kind of used to freak out more, like, she was the one that, like, kind of would save, I don't want to say save the day, but, like, yeah, anyway, I don't know where I'm going with that. But yeah,
No, she does, absolutely. Save the day a lot of times, or has the solution. And I think that's probably part of the inspiration for the new character.
Yeah. And the other thing I'll add is I just love when they get most of the cast in one episode. That's why I really like the last 2, I think. Not spoilers for the last one, I guess. But they, I mean, every character, and even, like, some extended characters, like, Glomgold's assistant, who's Owl. It's something with Owl. It's a play on the word owl. I don't know how he says it. Owlson, yes, it's like Allison, but Owl. And Gizmo Duck was there, right? Launchpad was there. So, like, the whole crew is there in one episode, which in this new version, you don't always get a lot. And I'm always a fan when they all show up and have a part to play.
Yeah, they were missing Launchpad and Glomgold from the first 2 episodes this week. And it was refreshing to see them in there. And Glomgold is just hilarious. It's just, I love that he when he's figuring out the time issue, he's like staring at that baby for like a year. It says 12 months later. That was hilarious.
So, did you guys think the time teaser worked the same way it did in the 87 show, where it just speeds you up? Because that was the original premise, right? Gyro creates the time teaser, and it makes you go faster than everyone else.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's what was happening, because he was coming in between what we were seeing when we originally saw what was happening and messing with Scrooge. And it's just nobody could see him because he was so fast.
Yeah.
That's how I took it. I was really caught off at the beginning. I was very unsure why Glomgold and Owlson were at the bin. Like, it was confusing to me. I didn't realize they were there. I figured it out later that they were there for the Ducklings, whatever the charity they were putting together. I didn't realize they were there for that. I thought we were seeing scenes with them at their board, you know, or at their office, and then I was trying to figure. I thought Scrooge just burst into their place, and then when he said kick them out, I was like, well, how would he do that? It took me a little while to put that together for some reason. Did y'all get that the first time?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I'm right there with you.
I didn't get it until, like, Scrooge walked in on them and he tells them to leave. I was like, oh, I guess he's up there. That's kind of a strange thing, but I didn't get it at first.
Yeah, I wasn't sure why I missed that.
I don't think we spent a lot of time in the bin, so, like, the backgrounds confused me. Like you said, like, they're in a boardroom, and we hadn't really seen that before. Mm-hmm. Plot for the season with the Scrooge and Glomgold competition, which we hadn't really heard since. It wasn't the first episode, right? It was like the second.
Duke of Bologna?
Yeah, or whatever. Like, where they had they set the competition to see who could be the richest duck, and they, like, bet their fortunes on it.
Yeah, I was thinking there would be more build up to that story, but we haven't really gotten a whole much. But maybe it'll kind of come to a head farther down in the season.
Yeah, I'm hoping they continue with it, but if they just stopped it with this, I think this is a hilarious episode.
Yeah.
So I read, I believe it was on Tumblr. Here's our Frankly Speaking. I believe it was on Tumblr. He was asked if this was the resolution to that storyline, and he said no. So it will continue.
Okay.
Yeah, I try. Anytime we're going to record, I try to look back through Tumblr and get refresh on what Frank has answered. And a lot of times I'm surprised by new stuff.
So can we talk about Glomgold and his devil outfit?
Why, sure.
It's Chester.
Yeah, he's Chester.
Yeah, I think Fat Mojo needs to jump on that and get us that variant Glomgold.
Halloween time? Halloween release?
Yeah, there you go.
Well, speaking of which, we've got the axe for Scrooge in this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Remember,
sure.
that's one of the figures that we've seen. Donald had a chainsaw, which plays into the next episode, and Scrooge had an axe, and we were like, what's going on with these action figures?
Okay.
I just realized something. If it's Scrooge with the axe, it means it's also Scrooge in probably an oversized clothes and pink eyes and disheveled look. It's not a figure that I'm going to have to add to my collection.
See, well, my thought was the opposite. That's a variant that I would buy because it's so different. It's not just an accessory change. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'd buy that one.
Well, did we see that one close up?
No,
that was kind of a just a concept, a mock up.
Yeah, we really couldn't tell that it was. We really couldn't tell that it was that much different. Only thing that we really saw was that, and I think we were on the podcast talking when we realized it was a battle axe.
So, what do you guys think of that entrance for Glomgold at the funeral?
Well, like the whole music number?
Yeah, where he comes in dancing.
I want that to be my intro. Can that be my intro for whenever I come on this show?
I think we have to pay royalties because isn't that like a real song?
Oh, you can afford it. You can afford it, Mitch. Come on.
That's our.
We'll have to look into it.
Well, you have to wear that outfit, though.
Wasn't it Eric who brought up the glasses that we needed to find someone to 3D print those?
Yeah, because Josh made a GIF of them.
Yeah. So if you have a 3D printer, anyone out there, and can make that, we'd be ever so grateful.
So I have an observation on that. Glomgold has the best in-universe merch of anybody on this show.
Like his glasses and stuff? Is that...
Yeah, never mind. I'll cut that out. I thought it was hilarious. That's a blooper. Proceed.
Didn't you guys were the ones who retweeted that they didn't plan to use that song. They just used it as filler, and then they were like, we love it, and so they got the rights to use it in the actual episode.
Yeah, that's what happened. They had it playing. Apparently this is a thing. We've learned this this past week. This is a thing with the production of the show. They listen to music a lot. And while they were working out this scene, they had that song playing and decided, you know what? It's perfect. We've got to leave it in there, which is kind of scary because this past week they've been listening to Call Me Maybe a lot.
Yeah, I'm calling it now. That will be in an episode at some point.
I just hope we find out which episode.
Why do I think it's got to be like an episode for like Huey or Louie? I don't know why. Those are the two characters that came to my mind. But yeah, I mean, historically with music production in movies, so like they usually play tracks and then they give it to the composer to write on top of it. So I remember like reading about like George Lucas and John Williams. He'd be like, here's like a classical piece of music that I want to go with this scene, write a song, like a background song that goes with it. So it's kind of cool. And yeah, it threw me for a second that they threw in like a pop song and that is mainstream and then kept it in the episode. But then I got with it and I was like, okay, this totally works. I'm fine with it. Let's just keep going.
It is kind of jarring.
Maybe Fenton is singing to Gandra D, Call Me Maybe.
That would work.
Well, this has to be a season 3 episode though, if they're working on it now. But it could be to Gandra. So I've been messaging with someone, which is why my jokes have not landed. I've been in 2 places at once.
I'm wondering why they weren't landing.
Exactly. I mean, they've just not been my normal standard of jokes. But one of our contributors on the blog is Drummer Girl, and I think she's going to join us on the podcast. Let me see if I can add her.
Sup, party people? Oh, Della was right. That does sound terrible.
All right, you win. Best intro. Well, that was awesome. Hey, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
So you were messaging me about how exciting this latest episode was, and I'm like, well, we're actually on the podcast right now. You should just join us. I'm glad you decided to, but I want to let everybody know, Drummer Girl 231-2 is your Tumblr, and that is also, is that the Twitter handle you created?
I think it's like DG231_2.
Okay. So, but Tumblr, that's where you blog most of the time.
Yep.
And sometimes you blog with us, which is awesome. It's been very cool. Eric blogs with us too. We didn't say that earlier. Eric's still on. But while we're talking, your name's Kristen.
Yes.
All right, Kristen. Welcome to the podcast. This is a fun night.
Yeah, glad to be here.
So we're just talking about an episode that the name keeps escaping me, but it's the 87-cent solution.
Yep.
And Josh was talking about how the intro to Glomgold was just perfection.
It was so beautiful. Yeah, the first time I was watching it, because you know that Scrooge wasn't really dead. There had to be some kind of thing where he was either going to come back or he wasn't dead at all. But I was thinking, if he's really dead and they have to resurrect him, then this is so messed up. And then second time I watched it and just knowing that he wasn't dead at all, I was like, oh, this is the most beautiful thing I've seen all week.
Yeah, and it's funny because you can see when he's doing his dance, and he's putting his hands in the air, that right next to him is Scrooge in the disguise, and he's just looking at him like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, and he was in the scene before. You just didn't really see him because Glomgold was using up all of the screen as he was dancing around, but Scrooge was in the background and in his wonderful disguise.
You know, when I was watching that scene, like I was looking at all the people in there and I recognized all the characters and I was like thinking, like, who is that guy? I don't remember him in anything. But it didn't click on me though that was Scrooge. But like everybody else I recognized. So it was just it's kind of funny that he was like hiding in there.
Funny story about this. So the girls got up a little bit late this morning and got breakfast going, and they already started the episode. And there was at one point they had to pause it. So long story short, they didn't get to finish the episode when they went to school. And guess where it was? Scrooge was dead and Glomgold was gloating, and they had to leave. Like there was no time. And they were just like, are you serious? I have to leave now? But we had to have, a little talk about the fact that surely Scrooge isn't dead. But they were very excited when they got home, and I love the fact that instead of jumping to that moment to find out, they wanted to rewatch the whole episode to build back up to it. But yeah, it was unfortunate for them. Of course, once they left, I considered pressing play to see what happened, but I didn't.
You're really strong.
You waited like 3 weeks to see Endgame, so I mean that's fine. What's one day to see DuckTales?
Right. Well, and the worst part about it is I got in the car to drive to work, and I was like, Duck Twitter's going to ruin this for me. I should have just watched it because I'm going to know before I get home. Well, it doesn't sound like we have much more to say about that episode. No, I'm not going to say that. Did anybody else have anything else to say about the 87-cent solution? I'm using the wrong title again.
Oh, I thought of a thing. Okay, so Scrooge looks really weird in pants. I don't normally say this about fictional characters, but I really wanted him to just take off the pants.
And he had those shoes on.
Yeah, I was like, dude, no. Like, yeah, I don't normally say that because I'm DG, and DG does not say those things, but Scrooge really needed to take his pants off.
On the topic of shoes, I really liked when he wore like the tissue boxes as shoes and spats because he couldn't find his spats. That part for some reason cracked me up when they're on the bridge. I don't know why.
It's very resourceful.
Yeah, and him going on about how he put it together and he's kind of proud of it in the moment. It was I think Pirate said it earlier. That whole part was strange. Didn't know what was going on. Today's episode, though, was a big one.
The golden spear. I helped you out there.
So
I wasn't even looking. I was just waiting for someone to talk. But yeah, the Golden Spear was the episode that aired today, and great episode. You know what, Kristen?
Yep.
You know what we do when we do a review of an episode. We like to do our 30-second recap.
Okay.
It's probably springing this on you. I doubt you've had much time to prepare.
Nope.
What do you think about doing the recap for this episode?
Let's do it.
All right.
Okay.
So you just let me know when you're ready, and I'll hit start.
Okay. I have my phone here, too. Let's see.
Yeah, that helps, having your own timer. We didn't tell Josh that for a long time, because but me and Byron used our own timers so that we could see where we were at.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I'm ready.
All right. Ready when you are.
Right, and go. Okay, so Della's been working on the spear based on some little context clues that we had for maybe about a year after meeting the Moonlanders. Lunaris is trying to convince her to move in with the Moonlanders in tranquility, and she's like, I don't know, I gotta keep working and everything. And he eventually convinces her when he orders Penny to take Della in, and Della doesn't want to say no to that, because we find out at the end something else. Actually, I want to cut that. So Della says, yes, she'll move in with Penny. And meanwhile, Donald's back on Earth trying to take a nap, but adventure keeps happening. His kids are in trouble, and he has to battle zombies with chainsaws and rescue Dewey from Zeus. And we don't even know what went on with Louie and Scrooge and this interdimensional goat. But by the end of it, Donald just looked traumatized. And so Scrooge and the kids send him away on a month-long vacation. So he's heading off to that. Meanwhile, Della's making friends with all the Moonlanders, and I've way overshot 30 seconds. Wow. So should we restart it and just cut it down to 30 seconds?
No, that was great.
Okay.
No, Mitch did one that was 6 minutes earlier.
Then do I just keep going and kind of give the end or whatever?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So meanwhile, Della's making friends with all the Moonlanders and telling them amazing stories about Earth and her family. And they're all like, wow, we want to go to Earth too. And she's like, well, I don't know if I could fit you in my rocket. And she's like, you know what? I'm Della Duck. I'm going to find a way. But then Penny was all like, I got to get rid of Della before she takes all my people. So she carries a sleeping Della up to the rocket, starts the rocket, wakes Della up. And Della's like, oh my gosh, I have to go now because I can't stop the rocket. And so Lunaris shows up. He's all like, give me the plans for the rocket so we can build our own and we'll meet you there. And so she's like, okay. And as soon as she's gone, Lunaris shoots himself in the arm and tells all the people Della betrayed us. She's going to go tell her people how weak we are and then attack us, but we're going to attack them first. And so Della crashes back on Earth. Donald sees the rocket. He goes to the rocket. Della is gone, but he gets stuck in the rocket and it blasts off with him inside. And Della shows up at the gates of McDuck Manor and says, I'm home. And it's so sweet.
This episode deserved 2 minutes.
Minus 20 seconds of me being like, oh, can we redo that?
I don't fault you for that. No, it is a monumental episode for the series. And everybody, I mean, you can't look at Twitter right now if you follow anybody who watches this show and not just get slammed in the face with stuff about what happened in this episode.
So good.
Yeah, it'd been great. It would have been great if Fat Mojo could have got those Della action figures on the shelves this month, because they would have flown off the shelves. That and the Spear Celine accessory vehicle set that they're coming out with. It would have been great to have. I mean, plush. Everybody wants Della stuff now. She is definitely the probably one of the most popular characters now.
She's the best. I love her. Oh, and then I forgot to talk about the thing. I was going to talk about the thing that I forgot. Okay, and it was at the end when Penny confronts Lunaris about, why would he, do that and kind of betray Della and everything. He says it's because he wants Earth to fear him rather than him fearing Earth, which technically he's still fearing Earth. Why else would he want to attack before Earth even has a chance? Not that Earth would. But Penny then asks, why would you pair her with me and make her live with me? And he's like, because she liked you. She said that you reminded her of her brother. And so the whole time we've been thinking like, oh, Della's just like so, tired of being by herself. She's so excited to have social interaction for the first time in 10 years. But actually, like, she really misses Donald, and Penny reminded her of Donald, and it's so sweet.
Mm-hmm. They kind of like had a big twist there when we found out that they were actually going to try to invade Earth. And it's kind of funny that the whole time Penny was like so against Della, like she's gonna do something, and in the end, now she's like kind of feels bad for Della and like wants to be on her side. It's kind of a big kind of character growth for her switching totally to the other, like wanting to be on Della's side versus like, oh, she's gonna attack us, she's gonna do something to our city. And so it's kind of I don't know, there was a lot going on in that episode, and I kind of got the hint that something was about to happen when they were kind of halfway through the episode. He was one. What's the main guy's name? Is it Laser?
Linares.
Linares. Okay.
That's what we called him when we were looking at the figures.
Laser.
Remember? Yeah.
Linares. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, that's why it's still stuck in my head. Linares kind of like was wanting to get the plans, and I kind of was thinking like that's kind of strange. And then at the end, it was like it totally. I didn't expect that kind of like twist of where like it was like a hard like, oh, she betrayed us. Now let's build this fleet and attack Earth or Duck Earth, whatever that is.
Yeah, Julie Bowen does a great job from Modern Family. Does a great job as the voice of Penumbra, and I think that there really are Della and her are going to become best friends by the end of it.
Yeah, I was kind of like speculating that too after the first episode, because we know Della can see the angles, and she was probably right about them becoming best friends after a life-changing adventure. But I think she was a little premature in thinking that fighting the Might was that adventure that would make them best friends. And so I kind of, I got the feeling, Lunaris is just using Della. He's going to turn on her. There are a couple of great moments of foreshadowing in Whatever Happened to Della Duck, where Penny says, watch your back, Earther, right as Lunaris is behind Della. Or when Penny says, ooh, good plan, lull the beasts into a false sense of security, and that only to betray them when they're at their most vulnerable. And I was like, ooh, that's what Lunaris is going to do. And we see Della very vulnerable, needing to blast off, like, right that second. And he's like, give me the plans. And she didn't want to break her promise to the people, so she gave the plans for the rocket. And it was like, oh, here it's happening. And I saw even the promo like a week ago or 2 weeks, whenever it dropped. I saw that Lunaris had the owner's manual in his hand, and I was like, oh, that could be a problem. I was like, now he knows how to build rockets.
Yeah, well, he might not need to build one if Donald delivers him one.
Right. Oh, jeez.
Do you think Donald's going to the moon? That was my one question at the end of the episode.
He might. Not to bring up the comics again, but there's several comics where he's kind of crashes on the moon. Or other planets. I think he's been to Jupiter and things like that. So this would definitely be in character to have him out in space somewhere, and maybe Della has to rescue him now.
I could see Donald landing on the moon and having more of like a kind of retro gaming, like from the video game experience. Like he could run into the big rat, I think would be more fun. I don't know. That was my thought there, but yeah, I didn't think this. I didn't know what to expect from this episode. It was really crazy. Like,
speaking of the video game, I feel like I got to watch the episode a couple more times. I don't know. I was trying to see if I could hear any of the Transylvania music from DuckTales NES during the zombie fights. But I think that'd been cool if they could have added that in there.
There was some kind of music, but I didn't recognize it.
Yeah, I caught the moon theme. I know that.
Doesn't the most recent Duck Avenger, doesn't that have to do with space? Could they possibly go there?
Imagine Penny meeting Donald and being like, really? This is who I remind her of? Although if he shows up on the moon while the Moonlanders are planning an attack on Earth, Penny might have to like keep him secret and like hide him or something.
It's true. We might see Donald going to the moon, kind of swapping with Della.
I started thinking about all the some more stuff from the '87.
You're looking it up.
Well, I remember there's a part where Scrooge's fist is all clenched like that author meme.
Meme.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And I thought the other cool thing was when they started going, Gizmo Duck starts telling you where all of the other villains are at that moment, and the Beagle Boys are at Con.
Oh yeah.
And I think I like the fact they brought up Magica, because I feel like she's going to have a big episode at some point this season.
I think it's possible now. I was beginning to worry that we weren't going to have any Magica until like maybe the very end, but now I think it's much more likely.
Didn't you guys cover last week, like Frank saying something about, like, we're not telling you where she is or something?
Yeah, I think that was brought up. He's not going to touch it right now, so which only makes me think it's more likely.
Didn't he say like, he said Magica's whereabouts unknown or something? Didn't he say that in the tweet?
Duck?
No. Gizmo Duck's thing said that, but when Frank was asked it, didn't he say that as well?
I think so.
I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's exactly what happened in the episode. We just didn't know.
I'd have to imagine from a storytelling perspective, they'd want to reintroduce Lena, which we know is coming, and then reintroduce Magica, because their stories are so tied together. Like, it would be more powerful to have Lena there with Magica when Magica shows back up.
Yeah.
So this episode ends with Della, and I about said spoiler alert, but we spoiled everything already.
Right.
You shouldn't have been listening. Sorry. I'll have to retroactively put a spoiler alert at the beginning of the episode because I didn't do it. But we have Della arriving at the gate to the mansion. And were you all surprised that we got to this moment in this episode?
Yes. Oh my goodness. So awesome.
I mean,
yeah, Monday's the continuation of it that we know, and it's gonna be great. And I think it's cool that it's around Mother's Day weekend.
Yeah, I like how they had the 2 Della episodes in a row, like right before and right after Mother's Day.
It's very fitting, and I mean, just there's a clip out there, and I don't know. I mean, by the time this episode gets out there, I think everyone's had time to watch this episode. And we were talking about this earlier about spoilers and what's the necessary, what's the right amount of time on stuff. And really, with episodes every day, we're going to have to talk about it. But that clip came out, I think IGN released it today, and it started circulating. I don't know that I saw an official announcement about it, but someone in our Discord and some people on Twitter sent it to us. And
I think I've seen Disney Channel tweet it.
Have they? I may have just missed it.
I caught it on IGN's YouTube channel because it was their exclusive. So
okay.
Yeah, it's on the Disney Channel YouTube.
Okay. All right, so they've got that clip out there.
Okay, first impression is the only impression. You gotta nail this. Greetings, children. Hello. Oh, hey, didn't see you there. Simple, sincere. It's just the most important moment of your life.
Ha ha ha! Behold! The cartographer's quill! A mystical artifact that sketches maps leading to the world's greatest treasures. Imagine all the money, daring adventure, infinite wisdom, and untold mystery in the world, literally at your fingertips.
Ooh, you had me at quill!
This could be the most important moment of our adventuring lives!
Sup, party people? I'm back in the hizzow. No. Knew it was wrong as soon as I said it. Sorry, that was terrible. Can I get a do-over? Hi, Uncle Scrooge.
Seeing her get up to the door, and then at the end of the clip, the family sees her, and Scrooge's reaction.
Oh my gosh. My heart. Guys, I can't handle it.
That was everyone's reaction. I was just like, I can't believe we get this clip, and now we've got to wait until Monday.
It was very kind of them and so very mean at the same time.
It's really funny though.
Yeah.
I feel like there's gonna be a lot of people going "aw" and laughing during the scene in this whole episode.
Yeah, her practicing her introduction reminded me so much of podcasting.
Well, and they gave us Scrooge's reaction, but I have to imagine the boys are going to all react very differently from one another, and I think that's going to be really interesting. And they also don't know that Donald's missing yet because they think he's on his cruise. So how does that... Monday's going to be crazy to get all that taken care of. Or maybe they time jump a little. Well, no, we know it's a clip, so never mind. Where they're going to show us what happens.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. They're expecting Donald to be gone for a while anyway.
Yeah.
He could be off the show for a while.
They might not even look for him, or, they might try to, contact the cruise line, because, Webby said no cell phones on the cruise, but, try to contact them and be like, your sister is home and she's alive, but then they're like, he never checked in. Or maybe they go back and they go back to the rocket, because Della needs her pictures and her gold and stuff, and it's gone, and I don't know. Maybe they'll put two and two together?
That was my thought, was if they want to put it together, they'll go back to the rocket and it won't be there. Because my one question with the end of the episode was, Donald sees the rocket crash from afar. Della's not there when he gets there, but when he mysteriously takes off, Della's far enough away not to notice that. It's fine. It's a cartoon. I don't need to analyze it, but it's fine. I'm like, oh, this doesn't totally make sense, but I'm going to go with it because I'm okay with this moment.
I don't even know how she makes it up all the way up that volcano-looking hill that McDuck Manor is on top of, suddenly being 6 times heavier, but okay.
Right. I thought of your blog as soon as it showed her, because she did
that hard work for nothing.
She was bounding earlier. Well, and we talked about that. It was a possibility that they wouldn't. Yeah. But, she's bounding on the moon, and then here she is just running across, no issues. It's
Although I love how when she's standing at the gates at the end of the episode, you could see that she is putting more weight on her natural leg, her right leg, and so you can see there is a little bit of a lean there.
Yeah, and they talked. Frank talked about that on Twitter. He said that they had a group. I can't remember exactly which group, but they had a group. Coalition? Who was it?
Amputee Coalition.
Yes, they consulted on how to have the character move, and I thought that was very cool.
Yeah.
So I think we will continue to see that. But man, I just, everybody's been, for the longest time, one of the, both on the blog and on Twitter and even in some of the emails, we get a lot of people who are upset with the lack of Donald. And I get it. Donald's one of my all-time favorite Disney characters, and I love having him in the show. And the episodes that he's in are some of my favorite episodes. I get that everyone, or a lot of people, felt like he was being underutilized. But I wish, I wonder if they're wishing they hadn't brought it up so much, because now he had a big moment and he's gone.
Right.
I hadn't even thought about, until this conversation, I hadn't even thought about the fact that they may not pick up on it for a while. So hopefully they go looking for that rocket.
I wonder if the mystery episode is when they finally reunite, because I know that the number of question marks, it could actually work for a title like The Duck Twins Reunite or something like that, and that'd be a very spoilery title that they wouldn't want to drop. I don't know.
We think it might be because 216 is the number, and
officially,
Frank has said that's a Launchpad episode, so.
Right.
Or Launchpad centric episode. So you know what? Maybe that's the Launchpad Della shipping episode. Who knows?
Well, he is a pilot.
He is a pilot.
Yeah, they're gonna get along fine.
So I
just don't know where they go from here.
No, that's exactly where I was going. That's a great point. Yeah. I mean, where do we go from here? We know we've got another Della episode coming up. And we know that we've seen designs for a lot of the characters to have spacesuits. And we were guessing from some of the Fat Mojo images, or not images, the single image, zooming in really, really far to try and get as much as we could. It looked like there was like this box set with the characters, little figurines that were possibly in the spacesuits. The ones from the Marshmallow video, because we've seen them in other places, and there's even they look a lot like Della's spacesuit. So I could see the show totally going to space at some point, like the whole crew.
It just threw me. Like, I really didn't think Della would come back this episode. I mean, the longer it went on, like, it's going to happen, but I thought that would be the end of the season, and that would be where we left season 2 at. But then, I don't know, part of me, like, with the 87 show is like, can she stick around forever? Like, how does that work? Is she going to stick around forever? Then, yeah, it's just, I don't really know where they go. It's exciting to see what they have planned, because they obviously have something planned. I just have no idea what it is.
Yeah, it's really fun when they break away from the source material. I know, I can't remember, I think it's in Morgan's documentary, The Scrooge Mystery, where they talk about bringing Della back. Or it may have been another interview, but I think it was that one. And Don Rosa says that he was either approached or he considered writing that story, and he came up with like 3 or 4 different outcomes, and the outcomes all messed up the dynamic of the stories he wanted to tell, because you would either have the triplets leaving to live with their mother, or you find out their mother's dead, or he was just trying to think through how that story would work to resolve the fact that Della wasn't there. And he ultimately decided it was a story that he just wouldn't touch. He wouldn't go near it. And so I think of that anytime I start to think about Della coming back. And boy, I was not expecting them to swap them and for Donald to become the new Della. Because we may have Della on Earth for a little while and Donald be missing out of their lives. Or they totally could go in the next episode and get him, because it's Nothing Can Stop Della Duck is the title. So
yeah,
I'm with Eric. We just don't know. But that's why we have a podcast, is to talk about what we don't know.
I feel like a lot of people too. Oh, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that. I mean, that's I love speculating about TV. So that's the best part for me, like not knowing what's to come.
Same.
I love when something can surprise me. Infinity War was an amazing movie, but it did not surprise me. So I left it thinking that, I mean, I enjoyed it, but it wasn't as grand as everybody else talked about it to me. Like I said, it was a great movie. It didn't surprise me. I saw it coming. And I think most people did. But Endgame totally surprised me, and we're still spoiler free on that. But it totally surprised me, and I loved it. And that's how I am with all shows. I mean, if a show can surprise me, it tends to be one of my favorite shows. And this show, even though I feel like I'm very familiar with, the source material and kind of the history of where the show came from, I still really love when they catch me off guard with something like Glomgold. I mean, this Glomgold's totally different from the Glomgold that I knew, and even the Glomgold that I'm learning about in the comics. And yet, I'd say this one's probably the scariest one, especially after this episode, with him dancing, or this week's episode with him dancing at Scrooge's funeral.
Twerking at the casket.
Yeah. Dude's messed up.
So messed up.
He's a bit unhinged, yes. Those are the worst villains to deal with. Just look at the Dark Knight.
Yeah, he makes me think of the Joker a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Because you just never know what he could do. And that's the most dangerous.
I mean, they said, not to flash back to that episode, but like they totally set it up, right? Like, don't scheme this whole thing, and the whole thing ends up being a scheme. Like, that is this character, and he cannot stop scheming. He's obsessed with it. Just, yeah. So
he gets a time machine. It's more complicated than that, but we're just going to call it a time machine. He paused time. And what does he do? He's trying to win a bet to become the richest person in the world, right? But that's not enough. He's got to destroy Scrooge doing it. I guess if your opponent is the richest duck in the world, the easiest way to win is to take their money, isn't it? Never mind.
Yeah, I didn't realize he was capable of something that elaborate, and that, I wouldn't quite say clever, because it wasn't clever enough, but it was very detailed plan. It wasn't like, I mean, I guess he comes up with details before, but they're all like strap bombs to sharks.
Right.
You know, not like slowly drive Scrooge insane with like this. I keep wanting to call it a time turner because Harry Potter, but what was it?
There was a name for it. I think Josh even said it earlier. Sorry, everyone. I will acknowledge the fact that Josh had to drop out.
Time teaser.
Time teaser. Yeah.
But yeah, I always want to say time turner because that's the Harry Potter one. But I'm like, no, it's time teaser.
Like
and I'm like, that was the 87. And then I like had to Google it. I'm like, yes, okay, that was in the 87 show too.
Was that the name of it in the Rosa? Was it a Rosa or a Bark story where the Beagle Boys use it to steal money, but it had a proximity? I think that was a Rosa story. It had a like it only impacted time within a 30-foot radius or something, so they had to be close to Scrooge. I don't remember. It was one of those. It was a good story. It reminded me of that as well because he took 87 cents. After this, I mean, we didn't even get a full week. Next week we get 5 episodes. It was tough to keep up with it. And man, this episode of the podcast has been a lot of fun. Maybe we do stuff like this more often and invite people on. I'm glad you guys joined us.
It was fun.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Eric, I think earlier when we were talking about where people could find you, did you give the name of your YouTube channel?
I just searched for my name. So, Eric Rovtar, Rovtar. I don't do catchy names, just me. So that's how I am on every platform. So if you look for that last name, it's not that common.
You do some unboxings. You get a hold of some Disney merch from overseas at times. You've shared that. That's cool.
Yes, my wallet loves it. But yeah. No, I've done some unboxings. It's like I got the Rescue Rangers plush from Japan. All the Mickey plushes from Japan when they did Mickey's 80th. I did not do the Donald 85th, like Donald Memories collection. They're doing in Shanghai and in China. No, I can't afford it, but those are really cool.
I'm hoping we get some stuff
I hope we're getting our own. I know you didn't. Yeah, I don't know if you guys talked about merch, but yeah, hopefully that Shop Disney UK Donald makes its way to Shop Disney US. I would have to imagine it will. But it's only 3 weeks away, so why they haven't announced it, I don't know. Shop Disney's so weird.
I prodded them this morning.
I saw because then I saw on Facebook someone shared a post about it, but it was actually Shop Disney UK, but just said Shop Disney, and it was I can't keep track of them. There's way too many of them.
Yeah. And you also share about your trips to the parks.
Yes, yeah. So I go to Disney a lot. I'm about to go on my last trip of what I call my bucket year list. So I have stuff from those trips down there if you want to see what I do for whatever reason, including some character meet and greets. So that's always fun. Always see Donald. He's a lot of fun. He likes when I wear Chip and Dale shirts. Actually, he makes me put my coat on when I wear Chip and Dale shirts. But yeah, he's a lot of fun to meet. So
cool. And Kristen, your blog over on Tumblr. That's the main place where people can follow you?
Yep.
And you like to you write some of our favorite blogs. We've come across them in the past, and then like I said, Josh brought up the one we got to talking about it and invited you. Well, actually, we asked your permission to share your blog first, and then invited you to write for us, and I really enjoyed reading them. I'm like that. I like to analyze and to think through some of the stuff that they're doing with the show, and I like how you do that. Just kind of thinking things through, and you do a lot of research on it.
Yeah, I guess so.
But any blogs that are floating around that you might be thinking about working on? Anything you want to share?
Oh man, I don't know yet.
Does it just kind of come to you and you get to work on it, or do you keep a list, or?
Kind of I have some drafts of things that I keep saved for later, but that I might not ever use. And then sometimes I'll just get an idea and I'll be like, oh, I have to remember to post that later. And I'll maybe get an idea for something that I know is going to be a really long blog, and I'll try to put that in front of my brain, okay, do that as soon as you have time to devote to it. But I don't know, just kind of random.
Oh, that's cool. I hear you. There's a lot of times I'll plan out a blog for DuckTalks, and then that one never gets done. And then there's, something happens where I get an idea for something and I type it out on my break while I'm hiding in the closet at work.
Relatable.
And it totally gets published in 15 minutes or later that day or something. So that's how blogging works.
Yeah.
Well, cool. We'll definitely share your all's information. I'll put links in our show notes so that people can visit you online and follow you. And man, it's been fun this evening talking about these 4 episodes. We've got 5 episodes coming up next week. I'm sure they're going to be amazing, just as good as these. These have been great episodes, though. But yeah, I think we've talked about it just about as much as we can. Or at least as much as we're going to, because I'm sure our conversations will continue. So with that said, if you'd like to join the conversation, you can always visit us at DuckTalks.com and, participate in the comments or follow us over at Twitter at DuckTalks. You can also find us, you can search for us at Tumblr and Instagram as well. And trying to think, that's about it. Email us if you've got any questions. Sometimes, some of our topics we talk about on the podcast, they come from those questions that show up in our email, ducktalkspod@gmail.com. And otherwise, I think that's going to do it for tonight. So until next time.
Okay, bye.
Eric, you got a catchphrase?
No.
We got to get Eric a catchphrase.
No. I don't know.
Laters.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, man.
You can use that, Mitch. There you go.
How about a Diet Pep?